Welcome to the Empowered Team podcast. Oh, today is a good one. It's all about burnout, chronic stress, and really what you can do to transform this chronic feeling of pressure and stress into performance power. And I've recorded a podcast about this with the TACK framework, TACK. So by all means, go and listen to that one. If you're in a situation of stress, that one will give you the tools to proactively plan for your stress, your timing, your awareness, what you can control, and how you treat yourself. So listen to that podcast. However, today, this is very important because today is going to be all about how do you deal with this when you realize you're in a state of chronic stress. You realize that you've started to overeat because you're not thinking clearly. You have stress seeping into your marriage because it's all consuming from work. You find that you're not getting the care that you need for yourself. There's not these joyous things that light you up because you have felt so much pressure from some other event in your life. Maybe it's something with a family member, a death, moving, and everything else that fills you up has fallen to the wayside. If you've noticed that these things have happened, except instead of being a blip in the day, it becomes a blip in a season. It becomes an entire year. It becomes a couple of years where you notice that you are just in survival mode. You are not thriving. You never felt like you went back to that baseline. So today, I really want to give you 3 key steps, 3 R's in order to reset this. Get yourself towards performance power instead of chronic stress. All right, let's get started. So stress isn't the enemy. That's not the point here. It is a key part of our survival. However, 80% now of doctor's visits are dealing with illnesses that are typically chronic. And out of those illnesses, stress is either the cause of or worsening those illnesses. This is what we're dealing with right now when it comes to our health status. Chronic stress does something to us that it's so insidious over time that we don't notice it right away. Especially with that chronic stressor going on and on, what happens is our brain starts to change in how it functions. When our amygdala, this primal part of our brain, is activated so much, it shifts the focus on what the brain is doing. It's focused on survival instead of using our biggest, shiniest, brightest forms, our super genius part of our brain called our prefrontal cortex. What it does is it's not just a bad day. We're talking about bad days, bad event after event after event, bad months, bad season, something that just kept going on. And when I say bad, I mean it's life. It might be the circumstance. It just turned into something that felt really bad on your body because it was this stressor that you could not seem to overcome or get away from. So it's not just a bad day. It literally rewires your brain. It suppresses your learning. It drains your vitality, your ability to focus, your ability to be as physically optimal. So chronic stress, like I said, activates that amygdala, but quite literally over time shrinks your prefrontal cortex. That area I called you badass super genius. It shrinks the area that is your decision-making source. It's your major center for decision-making. It also reduces your neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity, think of it as your brain being able to make new connections, your brain being able to make associations. It's your brain's ability to learn and adapt and create new. So we reduce neuroplasticity, we take the prefrontal cortex offline, and we become more reactive, survival-based, emotionally unregulated. That's what happens when we're under chronic stress, all right? Now, just hearing this might feel a little stressing. So this is where we take a breath. And this is where we reset to understand that we can help ourselves in this situation. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. You might be thinking to me, but you don't understand. I had 3 deaths in a row in my family. You might be saying to me, you don't understand. My business went almost to nothing in a matter of 6 months. You might be thinking, but you don't live with the person I live with. I understand what chronic stress is. I may not understand your particular situation, but I implicitly understand the major events that have happened in my life and what have happened in my clients' lives. And myself and other people have been in situations like losing businesses, losing jobs, losing loved ones, situations like living with a person with Alzheimer's, or having a marriage crumbling, or losing massive amounts of money and hiding it from loved ones. There's so many things that I've been exposed to personally, but also professionally with clients. And I promise you that those circumstances, they may change, but they may not change. But what is completely in your control is how you take care of you. So let's dive in. If you're being stressed for days, weeks, even years, that effect turns us into survivors, not thrivers. So what we really want to do is set up a way that we can deal with this that is easy to remember and easy to just continue to utilize. Some stress is necessary for optimal performance. Just a little bit of a trigger, a little bit of something that lets us know we're alive, tells us that something's different, that we have to adapt. That has us perform. But too much for too long, we drop off the performance cliff. We quite literally become dysregulated, and we don't understand how to make decisions and deal with things the way we do when we're optimized. So the goal in this podcast is to do something really simple, is bring you back from that drop off so that you're not going into survival mode or burnout mode and quite literally start to manage it in a way that helps you thrive. 3 years ago, I had my mother-in-law. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and we not only had to sell her house and clear her house out, but we had also just moved into a house 2 years prior, and we had to move into a larger house in order to move her in with us. Now, we didn't have to do this, but we chose to do this. This was post-COVID time. It was challenging to get her into any sort of home or care place. She didn't want that anyway. We wanted what we thought would be best for her, and we moved her in with us. So that meant moving her out of her home. It meant organizing and getting rid of decades and decades of living in her home and all the stuff that came with it. And it meant us moving to a new town. It meant us moving into a new space and moving her in with us. That alone, that month of doing all of those things, it was really 2 months of doing all that. That's a stressful season. In my mind, I thought that once we made the transition, yes, there would be some things to adapt to, but I was doing all kinds of preparation for that. We were looking for some home care to help us. There were so many things that we were looking for to help out. And I figured once that move was done, we would be able to breathe a little easier, but that's not what happened. She lived with us for over 6 months, and in that time frame, there were things that were small stressors and big stressors on the day-to-day basis that kept going on that I didn't know how to deal with. It was such a new situation for me. That's why it continued to be stressful for me. So it'd be situations like I'd be working in the morning and my door might be closed, but she might pop in and open the door, or then it might turn into when we would be eating together at lunchtime or eating together at dinner. It might turn into repeating the same things over and over. She may not remember certain things. And there's nothing wrong with those things at all, but I was finding them stressful, and it was building into chronic stress. And I might want to go and sit outside and eat my lunch quietly and alone in some nature, but that patio was right next to her room. And if she saw me there, then she might join me, which is lovely. However, I needed my own quiet space at that time. So I would find it to be a stressor, because then I found myself giving to her when I needed to give to myself. It was a challenging time, and anyone who's been in a caregiving situation, and a caregiving situation that might involve dementia or illness or Alzheimer's, they are very challenging times, especially if you're not trained in that area. However, it doesn't mean that we can't overcome the chronic stress. It doesn't mean we can't thrive in that situation instead of go into burnout. Now, eventually, we had to find a home for her, and it worked out beautifully for her, and she's in the best place possible. We get to visit her. She gets all kinds of more resources that we just couldn't provide. However, after that fact, I didn't know how to take care of me, because I was still experiencing the burnout from many months of chronic stressors. So what does this look like? So maybe you've had a season like this. Maybe it's been in your business. Maybe it's been in your marriage. Maybe it has been in an illness, in a family member, like I mentioned. It can be draining. It can be something that is an episode and might last for a long span of time. So what we want to do is start with the first R. The first R is to restore. What we want to do is restore yourself to a baseline. But you get to decide what that baseline is. If I decided what my baseline is that I'm working out or being active every day, I'm out in nature every day, I feel happy most of the time, even if things aren't going my way, I find resourcefulness within myself to find the gifts in it. So what is your baseline? Decide what your baseline is. What does it look like? Is it constantly putting out fires, or is it constantly creating the life that you want? Is it constantly jumping to other people's needs, or is it feeling like your needs are always met and it's easy to care for others? What does it look like to have a baseline that you feel really, really good about, that you're thriving in? Your thriving baseline is important to understand, because if you don't know what you're trying to get back to, it's really hard to restore yourself when you've been in chronic stress. So what is your thriving baseline? What does it look like for you? And if you're in that boat that says, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like to thrive. It's been so long since I've felt like I was thriving that I don't know what that looks like. If that's the case, then this restore, is going to be a big, long pause. Go ahead and pause. Just coast for a bit. Whatever needs to get done, let it get done, but pause. Don't take on anything new. Do not try and overextend yourself or extend yourself into anything different. Just pause. Determine what your thriving baseline looks like. Once you've determined what that thriving baseline looks like, if it's a day-to-day thing, then it's easy to recognize if you're dysregulated. And if you are dysregulated and you start to notice something like this, here's some signs of dysregulation. If this is happening all the time, that's a problem. If this is happening at some point in your day, then notice the clenched jaw, the shallow breath, or how about this, not breathing at all. Maybe you're into your emails, and there's research on this where people go into emails and they stop breathing, or their breathing significantly changes. Notice that you might have shallow breath. Notice that you're clenching your jaw, clenching your hands. You might feel short emotionally. You have impatience. You might be snappy. Or, how about this, mental fog? That mental fog is the result of your prefrontal cortex going offline. That mental fog is your inability to be adapting. The mental fog is coming from your brain going into survival mode, into your primal brain, your amygdala. So those are some signs of dysregulation. If you notice that, then we want to go into restore. And restore looks like anything that can help you get back into the moment of safety, into the moment of being in control. And that might be the smallest things. And oftentimes we start with breath. When we start with breath, it can be something like just noticing your breathing. You can go into some box breathing, 4 breaths in, 4 breaths or 4-second hold. 4 seconds in, 4-second hold, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold. That's box breathing. If you really want to down-regulate your nervous system, if you're finding you're getting really tense and really elevated in terms of a stressful state, then you might do 2 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 8 seconds exhale, 2 seconds hold, and then go again. It's really powerful to regain control of your breath. Physical grounding. Physical grounding is another way to start to get into the moment. This is how we restore our regulation. When we're in the moment, it might be feeling your feet on the ground. It might be touching the surface that's in front of you. One of the easiest ways to do this, if you see the video, I'm holding a glass of water. If you have your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, your glass of water, and you hold, and you feel the temperature of the glass or the mug, you feel how smooth that particular mug or glass, or the texture if it's rough. And then when you go to drink, you focus intently on what it feels like in your mouth, the temperature, what it feels like going down your throat. The taste, and pause. This gets you back into your present moment, which I promise you is typically a safe space. Where we don't feel safe is when we are feeling the danger of whatever the stressor is. We want to do a body scan pause. This can be an attention on your whole body. Notice where you're holding tension. Is it in your shoulders, your traps, your jaw, the back of your skull? Where are you holding that tension? And give yourself the chance to release it. This is restorative. This is getting you regulated again from a space of being dysregulated. Number 2, the second R is reframe. This one is so fantastic. Reframing is amazing because we can use it from the standpoint of stressors that you know are coming, when we're in the midst of a stressor, or when we've just gone through a stressor. And even if that was a stressful moment, a stressful season, a stressful year, you can use this one way or another. So when we're reframing, this is perspective, and it is so powerful. It looks like this. I'm going to decide the lens that I'm looking through. Am I looking through these glasses, or am I looking without the glasses? What am I framing this with? What lens am I going to look through? Remember that when we are stressed, your stress is different than someone else's. And the reason is that they might handle that thing perfectly fine, and you might feel like the end of the world is coming. And that's because you've got a different perspective. They are experiencing one thing, it's subjective. You are experiencing another thing, it's subjective. And your perspective is what makes it stressful. So let's utilize that perspective and reframe it so that we can make it something useful for us for performance, something useful for us for our own health, something useful for us for how we interact with other people, whether it's our family members or our business colleagues. Let's get our perspective online in a way that it's very useful. Here are some ways that you can reframe a stressful season or situation. If you're reframing, we're looking at it. If we look at something that we know is coming, and in the past it's been stressful for us, we know it could be stressful, How about this? This is a chance to show up as the leader I want to be. I have the tools to go through this. This is the chance to exercise the skills I've developed. If you're right in the middle of that stressful situation, you can have a thought, a framing that looks like this. I have all the resources I need to handle this. I can get through this no problem. I am a capable person. How about this one? You've gone through a stressful event. Maybe it was something during the day. Maybe it was an entire season. The gift in this was that one little line. The gift in this was, that's looking back, looking forward. This is a chance to. That one phrase, this is a chance to. So powerful to reframe stress and stressful seasons or situations. If you look back at that story that I told you about Alzheimer's with my mother-in-law, when I looked back and I looked at it from the lens of the gifts in this there were so many gifts. We got to be so close with her. We tried to recall different memories and trips. Paul brought out photo albums to recollect different family vacations that they went on when he was young. There were so many gifts there. We had her talking about her childhood, talking about her father, talking about the things she loved to do. It allowed us to get to know her in a way that we never had. There were so many gifts on how we adapted ourselves, how we found more resources, how we had changed our routines in order to accommodate her, how flexible we became. Remember the story I told you about when I didn't have my lunch hour? Well, I chose to still carve that time out for myself, and I found a different area of the house that had a sunny spot, but it was very private and very alone, and I knew that she wouldn't then see me there. In a way, I was kind of hiding, but hiding out is what served me in that moment. There were so many gifts that came from that situation, but the only way that I could see that was if I had that perspective of looking for the gifts. The only way that I could deal with some of the stresses that were happening at the time was by having the perspective of, oh, this is a chance to get to know what she was like in her childhood. This is a chance to look at some of the memories that Paul had as a child with their family and go through photo albums. That was the perspective at the time that helped me deal with the stressors in the moment and after the fact. And before the event happened, this is a chance for us to support our family. This is a chance for her to have the best environment possible. I looked at it as this is a chance for her to improve her nutrition, improve her relationships and her interaction, her social interactions every day. I looked at it as a chance to really, really and grow in so many ways. Now, does that mean the stressors disappeared completely? No, but it does mean that the stressors were managed so much better. And it means that I came through that season without being completely burnt out. I came through that season being able to look back and see how positive it was and see what we did in order to serve her, serve ourselves, and learn and grow. So if you are in the position of in a stressful moment, reframe. This is a chance to. This is a chance to. This is a chance to. Reframe. Use those reframe tools. The third R is this, recover. This is where I made the mistake, is recovery. I didn't understand like I do now, since I've recovered from and been recovering from an autoimmune disease. I didn't understand after that season with my mother-in-law with Alzheimer's that I needed recovery. And I can easily say that with my clients, I see this over and over. They'll go through a stressful season in business. They'll go through a big AGM. They'll go through a dip in the market. They'll go through losing employees and having to rehire. And that leader in that environment will do the biggest mistake of all. And that mistake is failing to recover, failing to give themselves some time and some space to regroup and fill their own cup so that they are back online with their brain and their body to be able to thrive. Because that stressful event brings your body down, brings your brain down. That's why stress contributes to so many diseases. You are going into a state of compromise. You are in a state that is not serving your best performance physically or mentally or emotionally. If you don't recover, that means that the state is lowered. You take the stressor away, called that season or whatever the problem was, and you recover a little bit just because the stressor was gone. But then you are not back up to that thriving baseline that I mentioned earlier. If you don't have that thriving baseline that I mentioned earlier, you're going to still be in a lowered level. Now, here's what happens. Another stressor comes along because that's life. You are going to be hit with stressor after stressor after stressor. That's the thing called humans interacting with the rest of the world. We are going to be stressed by something. However, we want to be able to manage it the best way possible. But if we never recover from each stressor, then we keep going lower and lower and lower. And that is what builds into the burnout. That is what creates the chronic stress. That is what then contributes to chronic diseases down the road. So I don't want you going down that path. This is why the third R is so critical. It is recovery. What does this look like? This could look like filling your tank on a daily basis. The example I gave was a sunny lunchtime by myself, either listening to a podcast, listening to nature, being outside, but being alone, often alone, just to fill my cup. Now, because of the chronic illness that I suffered with and have been overcoming, I meditate after I eat lunch every single day. Every single day. Because for me, with the illness, my energy goes down really fast in the morning. And then if it stays low, then I've got nothing left for the afternoon. I recover by meditating. I recover by giving myself the nourishment. I do that recovery practice every single day with that meditation to clean my brain up, to allow it to get back online optimally. And then I've got the energy for the afternoon. So meditation would be an example. That might be daily micro recoveries, a power nap, walking around the block, taking time for that breath work that I mentioned earlier. Joy scrolling on purpose for 5 minutes, like giving yourself the freedom to look at some funny Instagram reels of dogs doing stupid things. Whatever it is for you that gives you a little joy, give yourself some daily micro recoveries to take that relief back and refill your cup. Weekly recoveries, maybe it's this block of time that you schedule in your calendar every single week that has no productivity goal. It's not about meeting a deadline or a KPI. It's all about filling your own cup, watching a funny sitcom, taking the dog for some fetch, playing with the dog. Little things like that that you put in that are just about a hobby, just about some fun, just about something for you. Seasonal recovery. A little weekend retreat? Build that into your schedule. I call it CEO Day monthly for any of my clients. We either call it a U Day, Y-O-U, your optimal utopia, or a CEO Day where it is time to take care of the CEO. And that's a monthly day off. Just a day off, scheduled once a month. There's some clients I have that I have them schedule it after their board meetings so that they know they're going to be going through these board meetings and then they can take the recovery after. Body-based recovery, massage, heat therapy, saunas, baths, sleep rituals before bed, little routines, restorative yoga, any of those things can be really, really powerful. Relational recovery. Have you done a reset with some of the relationships you're in to make sure that it's healthy? Reconnecting. Those things are really powerful. Emotional recovery. Have you gotten out all of the stuff that's been building up? Have you allowed yourself to step back and punch a punching bag and get angry? Or have a big cry? Or journal? I'm at a stage right now where I do gratitude journaling every single night before I go to bed, and it's part of my recovery from the day. If I don't do that, sometimes those filters, that perspective we're looking through, if it's highly focused on the problems, we're going to be in a stress mode. And our brains naturally want to focus on the negative so that we stay safe. We've got to be aware of the dangers. So if we're always focusing on solving the problems, that brings the problem of more stress. So part of my daily ritual at the end of the day is a quick gratitude journaling of what am I grateful for from today? So I can refocus my brain on what's amazing in my life, because it's there. It's always there. I promise you it's always there. So if I've focused on that, then that's part of my recovery, my emotional recovery. Okay. So these 3 R's are not just tools. They're a rhythm that you're going to use continually in life. It's going to be your day-to-day. It's going to be a stressful season. It's going to be certain times that you've gone through which you weren't expecting, unexpected stressors that have come along. So allow these 3 R's to come in. So a quick recap. Number 1, restore. You are going to have to pause and get present to restore yourself to that baseline of thriving, that baseline of what does it look like to restore from this stressful moment. Reframing. Number 2 is reframe, and this one is critical. This is training our brain to look for how this is amazing or how we can deal with this thing. It's giving ourselves the resources by paying attention to them. What's great about this? This gives me a chance to. Those phrases, those perspectives. What gifts have I discovered in that season? And number 3, recharging. This is the recovery. The recharging, this builds your resilience for the stressors that you're going to see over time by bringing back up yourself, your body, your brain, all of your resources back to your emotional baseline, back to that thriving zone. So the challenge I would like to bring to you this week is pick one of those R's. Pick one to start to use today. One of them. Maybe it's the reframe. Maybe it's the recovery. But pick one of them and utilize it today so that you are not as likely to succumb to the constant stressors that are going to pop up no matter what, and instead you're in control. Remember that chronic stress only happens when we are constantly perceiving those things as stress. If we perceive those things as something that's really going to help our lives, something that's really going to help our growth, then we're not so stressed about it. And that's in your control. So notice that this is all within your control, and how you handle yourself and how you take care of yourself. If you're a high performer, like the achievers that I work with, you're going to see some more stressors in the world, and it's inevitable. No matter who you are or what you do, some stressors are going to come along. How you manage that is going to dictate whether you're performing or you're becoming burnt out. Pick your R. Let's go. Mine is recovering again after lunch with my meditation. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. You're not broken. Stress is going to be normal. It's a normal thing. It's not your enemy. It's there to keep you safe. It's there to keep you alive. And you are capable of transforming chronic stress into the clarity, the performance, the purpose that serves you. I promise you, stress is there for you, not against you. This is your stress alchemy. Go for it. Use it. If this serves you, share it with somebody who's stressed. Have their back. Let's help a sister out, help a brother out. Share this episode with someone you know that it will make a difference for, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I got your back. Keep being empowered. Go for it.